Welcome to my house for another Amazing Stories Unwrapped, the Facebook Live program designed to recharge your batteries with good news in an age of so much bad news. The old cartoon character Pogo famously said, "We've met the enemy and he is us." And that's the problem today. We've made fellow Americans who differ from us the enemy. But those who disagree with us politically, socially, or spiritually are not the enemy. The enemy is out there, the spiritual forces of darkness. The enemy is evil itself. The enemy is the evil one who's behind all the evil that's in the world. Last week, we saw the face of evil, anti-Semitism, an enraged man captivated by neo-Nazi propaganda, driven to commit mass murder in a Jewish synagogue in Pittsburgh. An evil as old as an ancient Egyptian pharaoh who threw Jewish boys to the crocodiles in the Nile River. Or a medieval inquisition that burned Jews at the stake. Evil as bad as Adolf Hitler and Heinrich Himmler. Evil, and the fallen angel behind all evil, is our common enemy. The cause of all of our hatred, prejudice, bigotry, polarization, tribalization, destruction, misery, and even death. So let's band together and fight evil in all of its forms. Just like the amazing woman whose story I want to unwrap for you today in my brand new book, The 1 Year Story, Book of Amazing Stories by Tyndale Publishers. I call it The Woman Who Wouldn't Back Down. The Macaulay girl never backed down to anyone. Or maybe she got her grit from her grandfather. She remembers the day that the KKK marched in their white hooded robes down through her African-American neighborhood. Most of her neighbors hid behind clocked doors in terror. But her granddaddy stood ramrod tall in front of his farmhouse, a raw-boned giant of a black man, his jaw set, his shotgun cocked. No redneck cowards hiding behind white sheets were going to intimidate the Macaulay girl's granddaddy. That unflinching willingness to stare evil in the face, to stand up to bullies, inevitably rubbed off on his granddaughter. So that when a young white man threatened her, the Macaulay girl picked up a brick to hit him. She said she would knock him out if he didn't back down. Her grandmother warned her that if she didn't learn to keep her place, she would be lynched before she was 21. That teenage girl stood up to her full height and retorted to her grandmother, "I would rather be lynched than to be mistreated and not allowed to say, 'I don't like it.'" Later, she married Raymond, in part because he refused to be intimidated by white racists in the Deep South. Together, they organized a resistance movement. Together, they agitated for civil rights. Now, the Macaulay girl was smart enough to keep her resentment of racial injustice under wraps in an era of redneck sheriffs, Saturday night lynchings, and black church bombings. But when she got on the public transit bus that night, plopped down dead tired in the section marked colored, America was about to see a change. On that chilly December evening in 1955, there were more whites than usual on the Cleveland Avenue bus route. The rules of segregation were brutally simple. Blacks sat in the back of the bus, in the section marked colored, but they were expected to give up their seats if there were too many white riders. So it was natural for the bus driver to charge down the aisle and demand that blacks in the first two rows of the colored section give up their seats to white passengers. Natural for three of the African-American passengers to get up meekly and to move to the back of the bus, forced to stand on weary legs in the aisle. It was also natural for Raymond's wife, the former Macaulay girl, to set her jaw just like her granddaddy and refuse to get up off her seat. At first, the white bus driver was frustrated, flustered. He wasn't used to having his authority challenged. Then he got red in the face, bug-eyed, quivering, angry. He'd never been challenged this way by an uppity colored woman. Maybe Raymond's wife should have been scared. The driver could have thrown her off the bus. The driver was also carrying a pistol. Not long before, Claudette Colvin had been arrested, thrown in jail, and given a large fine when she refused to give up her seat to a white passenger. In that same summer, 14-year-old Emmett Till had been lynched by an angry mob for offending a white woman. But Raymond's wife, Rosa, had been raised by her grandfather never to blink in the eye of evil, never to back down to bullies. She later said, "The time had come when I had been pushed as far as I could be pushed." Rosa's arrest by police sparked a bus boycott that lasted 381 days. That Montgomery, Alabama protest spread across the state into the surrounding areas. The Reverend Martin Luther King was thrust into prominence, and the dismantling of segregation had begun. All because a black woman by the name of Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. More than that, she set her jaw, just like her grandfather, and refused to give in an inch to evil. It's amazing what a single act of courage can do to transform a nation and a world. Remember this: Jesus went after the bullies in the temple. He braided a whip out of rope and then overturned the money changers' table in a corrupt religious system that cheated people out of the worship of God and stole their life savings. He never once backed down in the face of evil. Jesus even hung on a cross to defeat it, and he put his spirit in us so we can work with him to defeat it. Like Rosa Parks, there comes a time when all of us have to decide that we won't allow evil to push us around another second. I like to think about it this way: to sit passively in the face of evil is to be its silent accomplice. Now, I know evil's big. It's massive. There's no way that any of us can defeat all of it. So maybe it's good to remember this African saying: how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. Rosa Parks just took one bite out of the evil elephant of racism when she refused to give up her seat. But that one small bite was enough to make a difference that we still celebrate today. So remember this, dear friend. If each of us take one bite out of evil, maybe even a small bite each day, together, we just might devour that elephant. So remember this before you go into the weekend and into the days to come. To sit passively in the face of evil is to be its silent accomplish. You know, I want to see evil die. The kind of evil we saw last week, and I think you do too. Well, before I leave today, I have a special announcement. That announcement is you not only can buy my new book on Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, in Christian bookstores, other bookstores around America. You can buy it on my website, robertapeterson.org. We'll send it to you for $17. That's almost $5 off of what Barnes & Noble is selling it for. And you'll get my autograph. And I think there's a great Christmas present as you look forward to the holiday season. But here's my special announcement. Starting next week, we're going to move our Tuesday time to 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. So we'll be coming to you on Facebook Live, 7 o'clock on Tuesday evening, and then the same time, 12:50 on Thursday afternoon. Now that 7 o'clock time means that all of my friends in India can watch it at 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning, which may be a better time for you. I hope it is. So remember, our next Facebook Live, 7 o'clock East Coast time in America, this coming Tuesday night. God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.